Good evening, everybody. The topic today for discussion is optimizing milk production. Now, optimizing productivity to balanced nutrition. Is this a fact or a reality? So, let us understand the perspective. Now, what is the myth in this case? Is if you have to improve milk production, we should try to improve the daily milk production. However, if you look at the reality you could see is milk production is actually based upon genetic potential of the animal, which will ensure that the milk production is constant. At the same time, if the feeding is correct, the animal will come into it regularly. It conceives the right time, conceives at the right time, and it will reduce the number of AI beings because, as you know, the heat is occurring once in 21 days. So, if you are needing 3 heats for conceiving the animal, that means you are wasting about 63 days for the animal to come into become pregnant. So we have to reduce the number of AIs. So if this system is followed, that means number of AI used are very less. Then it will automatically reduce the intercalving period. Intercalving period is the one which you can safely say is the gap between the two successive calvings. That means if one calf is born, the next calf should be born as early as possible, say within 12 to 13 months. This will automatically increase the overall productivity. Now, the most common fact problems the farmer faces in India are the animals are not coming into heat regularly. If it comes into heat, it's not getting pregnant, which can be due to poor AI, poor artificial insemination technique or management or the person thereof. Then we have got retention of placenta. That means after birth, the placenta's membranes do not fall out. We have to have a manual intervention for this. This results into having an infection develop in the uterus, and we have a delayed conception in the next breeding cycle because till the time the membranes don't fall off, the uterus will not return to its original status. And if it doesn't return to original status, automatically what is going to happen is it will not come into heat. Now, farmers' problems, if you continue that, we can see the next is prolapse of uterus. That means the uterus comes out of the body. That is because of, the muscles are weak because of mineral deficiencies and all that. Milk fever. Milk fever is after calving, we see this case. Maybe what happens is the calf is born correctly, but the cow sits down after the calving. And this results into a terrible loss because the animals once down will not get up. And even if it gets up after treatment, it may not give milk. And the third most important factor is in India is mastitis. 5 years ago, this was only about 5%. Now today it has almost gone to 25 to 30%, which is a great loss for the farmer. Farmer problems could also be abortions in 3 to 7 months of pregnancy. Then we have birth of dead cows. We also have weak cows which die within 2 months after birth. And then we have this is approximately, you could safely say, what I have seen for the last 40 years is almost 20% cases are like that. The cows are dying within 2 weeks. At the same time, one very important issue which seems to be neglected is we are getting less number of calvings per animal. An animal should actually give in 9 to 10 or maybe even up to 12 calvings in its life cycle. But what I have seen all across India is hardly 6 to 7 calvings. Then heifers are not coming into heat earlier. That means the first time cows, the cows which have gone into heifers, and for the first time they are not coming into heat earlier. And they are not attaining the age of 250 kilos, which is the actual and most ideal time for the animals to be getting impregnated. So now if you are talking about optimizing milk production, what is happening is most of the farmers are spending thousands of rupees to stop all these problems, to treat all these problems. Again, it still what we are going to see is we have no guarantee that the animal perform in terms of milk productivity. So we should ideally think of preventing these conditions and to control all the losses. This will definitely ensure uh, a proper animal productivity. But the question is how and why, how this is possible. Now, optimizing in production, if you say, the myth is that the doctor, all the farmers in India feel that all the doctor knows everything. So it's better to seek his advice. But the reality, let me tell you very frankly, a doctor, whether it is a human or a veterinary doctor, he only knows how to treat a diseased animal and not how to keep the animal or a human being healthy. So what happens is he start only when the animal falls sick, what he can do. And if the animal human falls sick, what he can do and make it better. But this type of intervention costs only hardly 2%. Whereas if we have to teach the people how not to fall sick, it will cost the cost total involved is about 90%. Now, what is important is we must give importance to why this is happening. Now, this happens basically because of feeding. I would rather say feeding means not feeding only. Feeding means balanced feeding. That means a control, a proper quantities of dry grass, green grass, cattle feed, and mineral mixtures. However, the fact is what that we have to see that mastitis is seen at the level of 25%, and repeat breeding is seen at the level of 20%. Now, most of the farmers, if you look at it, what is happening is mastitis is seen all across India. That means the reason for having mastitis is the same. Now, if you look at the balanced feeding schedule, dry grass, green grass, cattle feed, and mineral mixture. Now, if you're looking at the Indian picture, what you see is everything else is different, but the only factor which is there is the mineral mixture, which is the basic cause of having mastitis or anything. Now, what is the myth? The myth is that most of the farmers or companies which are already selling mineral mixture, they very know little about mineral mixtures. So the reality is what? They don't understand the importance of mineral mixture. Now, why mineral mixture has to be used? Even this question is not answered by most of the people who are selling this product. Now, why mineral mixture has to be used? Because if you look at the milk, milk is complete food in itself, and it is very rich in minerals and vitamins. Now, if mineral mixture is not supplied properly, the correct quantity, the body reserves will automatically going out of the body, and by virtue of which the body reserves will get depleted. Now, immunity, if you look at it, is obtained by two things, namely vitamin E and selenium. But what is not known is that vitamin E cannot cross the placental barrier. That means it cannot go inside the uterus, which has the calf inside. And what you see today in India is most of the problems which are there are related to uterus, and these uterine problems always end into getting the animal into mastitis. At the same time, what you see is that 2% cows which are dying within the first 2 months is because of lack of immunity, which an animal will get through only by a mineral mixture containing proper amount of selenium. Because selenium can pass through the uterine membranes and give immunity to everyone. And so you could safely say that lack of selenium or improper constitution of a selenium in a mineral mixture is the main cause for increase in incidence of mastitis. And if mastitis occurs, what we see is we have to use a very high level of antibiotics, very higher level of antibiotics, which will always turn into, having an antimicrobial resistance for humans, because this will go through milk and then it will come into the human system also. Now, unfortunately, all the companies know the BI is taking cognizance of the importance of the mineral mixture. Now, we again have another myth called minerals which are chelated, methochelated, glycine chelated, and all that are very good in nature because they are costlier and they will give you a better results. But the reality is, you know what? The compositions which is mentioned on the pack are very deceptive and they are not as per the regulatory. Now, what is the reality? The reality is that companies are using the term called nutritional values. If you see any mineral mixture packet, what you will see in the top is the mineral mixture 1 kilo contains nutritional values of so and so. Now, these values are very deceptive because I'll give you a simple example. Now, we have the mineral mixture which says that iron is 10%, 10 grams in the mineral mixture. Now, what the companies do is they will not see minerals are not found in the earth as minerals, they are found as compounds. Now, iron is contained in ferrous sulfate. So they will write that iron is 10 grams, but they will use 10 grams of ferrous sulfate, which actually contains hardly 11% of iron. That means what mineral mixture you have got is having only 1.1 gram of iron. Now, this is very little as compared to what has been going out of the body. Now, the companies are doing this for all the minerals. As a result of that, what we see is the animals are not getting supplemented correctly. And this remains the major reason for less number of lactations, which I mentioned earlier. I already mentioned that the animals which are there in India have only 6 to 7 lactations, whereas they should be able to give 10 to 12 lactations. Lactations number is only 6 to 7 in entire India. You'll be surprised to know, I would ask you to go to any farm and ask the people that how many number of lactations the animal has given, and you will never get an answer which is more than 9. At the same time, if you see the reality is what? Selenium required is more than 100 mg per kg of mineral mixture. Now, this is usually avoided for use by the companies because this is very expensive in cost. Expensive in the sense, the 1 kilo of selenium is not less than 3,000 rupees as of today. So being very expensive, it is being used very little quantity, and that too what is being used is only a nutritional value up to maximum 50 mg. Let me tell you, selenium is contained in sodium selenite, and sodium selenite contains 53% of selenium. That means when you say 50 mg of selenium written on the pack, it will actually have hardly 26 or 27 mg of selenium, which is very, very little compared to the requirement which is by the animal. So now what is the reality is that we have to use elemental values for this mineral mixture. I would say that this should be made compulsory by the VI standards. Even though I have considered here very carefully use these values, I am yet to see any company using these values. Most of the company will use the values called nutritional values, almost all across India. Like I said earlier, I will say again that I have been traveling in whole of India for last 40 years. I have seen most of the mineral mixture which I have found in India, and most of them will say the same thing. It is called nutritional. However, I would like to suggest that if you're using elemental value mineral mixture, then maybe you will get better results and almost negligible in the occurrence of mastitis. So this we have to address this problem. The second problem which is there was repeat breeding. This will also be cured with the use of proper mineral mixture. So let us address this issue of poor consumption also and work on half a year program. So I would like to say that the solution is prevention and not the treatment, because treatment is, like I always say, treatment is expensive, whereas prevention is investment. So thanks for being the responsible for bringing the facts to face and getting rid of the myths which are plenty, which I've tried to explain to you. I would be open to questions if you have any. Yeah, please.
Okay, so yeah, what are the best practices for managing a dairy farm to optimize the milk production?
What are the best practices?
Yes.
See, the basic objective of managing a dairy farm would lie in, proper and balanced feeding, or like I said earlier also, it's the same thing. What is happening today? People are relying more and more on machines to do the work. Actually, machines don't improve the milk yield. The milk yield is given by the proper use of feeding. That feeding, if it is controlled, we can definitely have best management practices. If anybody has got a particular situation, he can always call me up and ask me. I will definitely be able to help him. Because, like I said, I cannot give a generalized answer because that will be different for every state. So, if you have that, what are the practices being used? And the best part is that if you use the elemental value mineral mixture, you will be able to solve most of the problems because that constitutes uh, perfect balancing of the feed. Like for an example, if you have a car, you can have the best petrol or best diesel, but if you don't have engine oil, which is very small in quantity, then it will, definitely hamper the performance of the car. The same way, if you don't have a proper mineral mixture, however good the ingredients you are using for feeding will definitely hamper the productivity.
Okay. So, since you said about the feed, what are the essential nutrients required for dairy cows to maximize milk production?
Yeah, I think I answered this question. See,
Okay.
what is happening is if you are let us now talk specifically. If you are talking your combination of dry grass and green grass, if you are to use that, it should be approximately, I will like give you a thumb rule. The green and the dry grass should comprise about 3% of the body weight of the animal. That means if the animal is 500 kilos, we should be using 15 kilos of dry and green grass. Now the dry grass will be about 40% of this. That means 40% of 15 kilo is 6 kilos. So 6 kilos would be dry grass. The rest 9 kilos would be green grass. Now 9 kilos green grass looks very small because when I talk about 3% of the body weight of the animal, what I'm trying to say is 3% of the body weight, but this is excluding the water content in the grass. Now you all know that green grass contains minimum 20 and 60% water. So when I'm saying 9 kilos, you have to do at least 20 kilos of green grass. So you are talking of 20 kilos green grass plus 6 kilos of dry grass and plus cattle feed depending upon the milk yield of the animal. Because today in the market we are getting cattle feed depending upon the milk yield of the animal. Like if you have got 20 to about 20 liters of milk every day, you will have a better version of cattle feed which can be given at the rate of 300 to 400 grams per liter of milk. And plus, additionally, you have to give 1 kilo also. That is for the maintenance of the animals. But like I said earlier, before the moon, very important ingredient is the mineral mixture. That has to be elemental in nature. You should always look at the pack. It says that elemental values of. If that is the case, then you are having a good mineral mixture, which should be used at the rate of at least 50 to 100 grams per day, depending upon the milk yield. If you are having a milk yield which is less than 10 liters, it should be about 50 grams. If it is more than 20, it should be at least 100 grams. I think that should answer the question.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And what are the key factors to consider when choosing the right breed of dairy cattle for a specific region?
Can you repeat the question, please?
What are the key factors to consider when choosing the right breed of dairy cattle for a specific region?
Okay. If you are talking of a specific region, the simplest thing would be trying to buy the animal from the places which are having similar temperature and climatic conditions. That would be the most ideal thing. Secondly, you have to, if you are starting a new farm, you should not start with a very high yielding animal. You should try to have a animal yielding low. That means about 10 to 15 liters of milk. Then you can gradually keep on building up so that you can, get used to that. When you learn how to drive a car, you cannot go to 100 immediately. What you do is you start 40, 50, 60, and then later on within 2, 3 years you go to high levels. The same way when you are trying to buy the animal, first of all buy the animal which is having same climatic conditions. Secondly, try to buy the animal which is having a registered which has been impregnated by a bull whose mother's milk is known. That means you can have an average idea as to how much milk it will give in a cow in your farm. That should be able to do that.
Okay. And how can farmers effectively balance the nutritional needs of dairy cows for maximum milk yield? I guess you have answered this.
I already answered this.
Yeah. Okay. Then next question, how can farmers develop cost effective and balanced feed rations for their dairy herd?
See, there is no way. What has happened is most of the ingredients which are used today for cattle feed are also used by humans. So the costs are going to tend to be very high. So the most effective way of controlling the costing of feeding of the animals is to control the balancing of the diets, by virtue of which you will get a productivity which is already optimized. Like I said earlier, the intercalving period, that means the period between two calves, is usually 15 months in India. Now, if you are able to bring this to 12 months, which is possible, in fact, when I go to a farm, I give a challenge this thing to people that I will reduce the intercalving by at least 50 days. So if you're from 15 months, if you're going to get this thing to about 12 months, what will automatically happen is, with 15 months of intercalving period, in 5 years, you will get only 4 lactation, that means only 4 calves. But if you go down to 12, then in 5 years, you will get 5 lactations, which means you are getting one more calf rather than only 4 calves in this thing period. So if you are going to try that, automatically, whatever may be the cost of the feeding, automatically the productivity will be optimized.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are some innovative feeding techniques or supplements that can boost milk yield?
Frankly, there are nothing innovative. I mean, it's only I can safely say, after going into the market for last 40 years, people are not aware of the basics. It is no question of having innovations, but it is the question of having a proper balanced feeding. Then only everything is possible. And if that is learned by the farmers, I am sure the farmers will never have a problem. There is no innovation in feeding. The feeding only has to be balanced. That's the only innovation you can think of.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are the common health issues that can affect milk production in dairy cattle, and how can they be prevented?
I think I have answered the question. The entire dialogue was on this only. I already mentioned what are the factors which were for milk yield to be decreased, and then how to control is the same way, that by balancing the feed. And there's no other way.
Okay.
I can safely give my example. I am traveling 22 days a month from 1990. I have covered entire India. I have been to 36 countries. Mind you, I don't get time for anything like yoga, running, swimming, jogging, walking, nothing I get time for, because I'm traveling all the time to all over across India and abroad also. Now, the only thing which I control for myself is my food, which I, very controlled as a balanced feed. And you will not be surprised to know that till today, I have not fallen sick for a single day. In fact, this is the same principle I use for all the farms which I am having. I must have guided more than 2,000 farms all across India during these last 40 years. And this is the same thing which I told them, that you control the feeding, automatically everything will now.
Okay, that's very good to know. So next question, what are the modern technologies and tools are available for monitoring and managing dairy health and milk production?
There are some IoT solutions for this, but I wouldn't recommend them, because these IoT solutions, most of the IoT solutions which have come into the market have been devised by people who have absolutely no domain knowledge of this industry. So I don't know, and I cannot comment how far they would be accurate. Because see, if an animal is sick, it will automatically show. We don't have to rely on any innovation or any machine to make us understand the animal is sick. If the animal is sick, it will stop eating. It will not give milk. Very simple technique. I don't think we need anything like that.
Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Next question. What role does artificial insemination play in improving milk yield, and how can it be implemented effectively?
See, artificial insemination is a very good technique which has been developed from 1980. In fact, artificial insemination is very, very important in the way that if we want to optimize the productivity of your farm, say for example, if you're having a cow which is giving 10 to 15 liters of milk. Now, when she comes into heat, we can always inseminate with a bull whose mother has given 20 to 25 liters of milk. That means 10 to 15 was the average for this cow. You are inseminated with the 20 to 25 liters. So what will happen? The offspring which you get, in case it's a female calf, which later on grows, then you will definitely get more than 20 liters of milk. So this is the advantage of the AI, that you can improve the milking yield of the animal and by improving the genetic potential of the animal. And then slowly you can do that. For the first lactation, 10 to 15 can be mated with 20 to 25. The next lactation, the 21 can be mated with 25 to 30. So gradually it will keep on growing. But the only precaution what I would suggest in this case is try to use the semen from good companies, maybe like NDDP or PIF, something like that. That would be a boon for the farmer and it will be good. I hope you got the point. Hello.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Next question.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Are there automated milking system or robotic milking options that can increase efficiency?
There are the options are available. See, automatic and robotic milking systems are actually not economical in the sense that they don't give the return on investments. Actually, even a parlor, milking parlor for that matter, should not be used unless you have 100 cows milking at a time. Let me give you a simple example. Even if you have 100 cows in a farm, only 60% of them are milking always. That means if you want to put a parlor or anything like that, you should have at least 150 animals, by virtue of which 100 animals are there. And if you are thinking of robotic animals and all that, then you should have at least 1,000 animals which are always milking. That means you should have nothing less than 16 to 1800 animals in your farm. Generally, robotic milking can be viable and it can give you the required return on the investment. See, because technology is there, technology is always there, which is useful. But we have to think in terms of technology. Is it feasible? Is it viable? And does it give the return on investments? Because these things are very expensive. And if you have to look at the return on your investment, then you have to think before you buy these machines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how can farmers reduce water usage and waste generation in dairy operations?
See, water did you say water retention or water it was what it was?
Water usage and waste generation.
No. See, the water use waste generation means you are talking of cow dung and all that. That of
In
course
dairy
will be
operations.
in dairy operations.
Yeah.
See, these two things cannot be avoided much because if you look at it, a cow requires about 80 to 100 liters of water to drink. Number one. Number two, if you have to wash the animals at least once in a while, you need another 100 to 200 liters of water. That means safely you could say that 250 to 300 liters of water is needed for one animal every day. You cannot decrease it because again the animal will be, even if it is standing, it will be having feces. That means the cow dung will be there, urine will be there. That also has to be cleaned. That also will need some water. So you can safely say we need at least 300 liters of water every day, whether you like it or not. It has to be like that. The only advantage in dairy farming, unlike agriculture, will not require rainfall. If you have a constant water source, you can do dairy farming in a very good way. Very simple.
And what market trends and consumer preferences should farmers and startups consider when planning milk production strategies?
if you are talking of startups, the
Yes.
only thing what I would like to suggest to them is that what has happened is I have been in this industry. What I'm looking at is 99.99% startups fail in this industry because they don't have domain knowledge. They should always appoint somebody who has the domain knowledge, because what is happening is most of the startups are from IIT or MBAs and all that. And these people think that Google is, the best source of information. But however, they tend to forget one simple fact that information is not key to success. There are two more things called expertise and awareness, which unfortunately are not free. I have been invited by many startups and all that, but one thing I always see is they simply don't have any domain knowledge. And that is why they make a lot of mistakes. And then after some time, they learn what has happened. But by the time, everything is gone. So if at all they have to use that, they have to take help of experts which know the thing. You know, because Google does not have any information on dairy farming of India. Google has a lot of information on dairy farming, but that is related to dairy farming abroad, and which cannot be applied to India because Indians have got small farms, whereas out of India you see farms having 1,000 animals, 2,000 animals, 5,000 animals like that. I am not joking when I say that there's not even a 10,000 cow farm in whole of India, and I can safely say that I have seen hundreds of farms like that in a country like Israel. So when we are thinking of all this, what you have to first think is you have to think of the baseline. That's how much domain knowledge we have and how much domain knowledge we can have, because Google will not provide all the answers. And Google answers may not be correct, because like Google tells you how to drive a car. Have you seen any person driving a car reading Google? You cannot. So the expertise is a must, and awareness of the field is also must. Yeah.
Okay. And just three, four more questions.
No problem. Please.
How can farmers diversify their dairy products to maximize profits and market opportunities?
See, first of all, that is a misconception that they should go in dairy products. Because the thing is what, a milk is a commodity which is required by every person, and every a person of any religion, caste, creed, anybody. See, milk is consumed by everybody and it is required daily. But the moment you talk of a milk product, what you're talking about is a product which is not used daily, which is used once in a while. Now, what happens is when you are making a product, in that case, the biggest obstacle in selling that product is making a brand. Like, for example, if you're having gulab jam or srikhand, now even if you make the best quality of that, you cannot ensure that the people will buy it, because people usually eat products, sweetmeats of made out of milk, once in a while. There is when there's religious festivals or anything for that matter. Now, since he's buying it once a time, you always think that I should go for the best brand available. And you, as a small farmer, cannot do that. What would be suggestive, and what would be ideal is if you sell the milk of a good quality directly to the people, you can get a good price. Mind you, today, as of today, the production of milk does not cost more than 35 rupees. But you can safely sell your milk for 50 rupees. That is a clear cut profit of 15 rupees per liter of milk. So I think rather than thinking of going for product designing and all that, it will be better to sell a better quality milk directly to the farmer. Your payments are assured, and people, the very simple way of tasting milk is people will go, they'll boil the milk, they will see how much ghee they can get and how curd is made. If it is of good quality, they will buy it. They did not need any brand to sell milk.
Okay.
I hope you are getting my point.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And what are the regularity requirements and quality standards for milk production, and how can they be met consistently?
No, this question will be applicable only to big farms, not big farms, big dairy cooperatives. Because as far as small dairy farms are required, there is no regulations as such. You need FSSI regulations only after you are able to sell more than 10,000 liters of milk. So I don't think that should be a cause of concern for anyone.
Okay. And what educational resources and training programs are available for agriculture students and individuals interested in dairy farming?
Unfortunately, there is not a single institute in India which gives on-hand training. Unfortunately, it's really unfortunate. In fact, I realized this fact in 2010 when I visited Israel to study more on dairy farming. That time, I happened to meet many people from other countries, and like Kenya. Now, Kenya is behind us in milk production. So they said, if we can, we don't mind coming to India if there's an institution of that kind. But unfortunately, there's not a single institute in India which gives on-hand trainings. So the best way would be to catch hold of an expert in your area, seek his guidance, visit few farms, not on your own, but with the help of an expert. Because what will happen is Indians have got a very different strategy of working. If the moment they come to know that you don't know anything, they'll simply fool you. So you have to go with an expert to learn about it so that you will understand what is what. In fact, I've been doing for most of my clients like this. I go with them, visit farms for at least 4 5 days, showing them different types of housing, various types of machinery, various types of practices being followed, AI techniques, this, so that they understand what is what. And that would be the only viable way as of today.
Okay. And how can agriculture universities support research and education related to milk production optimization?
I don't think there's any institution which is doing that. They are not doing that, frankly. So I don't know. I cannot answer this anything. Whatever I have seen, most of them are not doing anything for that process, frankly.
Okay. So I mean, do you give any lectures in the colleges then?
Yeah, I do. I have, in fact, I have given more than 20,000 lectures all across India for farmers. I give training, I give everything on whatever aspects you want.
No,
In
no, no. I
every
mean to
aspect,
say
you get a farm.
for the college students and agriculture
Yeah.
universities.
No, for the new people. For the new
Okay.
people. In fact,
Okay.
I take them for training to various farms. I show them what is what. Because see, what is happening is any person who wants to come into dairy farming, for him it is a mental decision, not a physical decision. So the main purpose of me taking them to different farms for them to understand what are the intricacies involved, what is the work which has to be done, so that they make up their mind physically also that yes, I can do this. Otherwise, mental decision and physical are two different things. Like on 31st December, everybody thinks that tomorrow I'll start going to the gym and do everything. Nobody does that. It is just a mental decision. So mental and physical is also very important. That's why it is better if he understands what is happening on a farm, what is the work he has to undertake, what is the work he has to oversee also.
Okay. So now we have the last question. How can individual and startups stay updated with the latest development in dairy farming?
I would say once again the same thing. Forget about the latest development. Try to understand the basics. It's really unfortunate when I said I gave more than 21 lectures. All across India, people are not aware of the basics. Mind you, when I say this, previously, before 2000, the people who were coming into dairy farming were illiterate people who are illiterate. So they had no knowledge of basics. But today, what I see is everybody is over literate because of Google and WhatsApp University. But again, the same thing is there that he doesn't understand the basics. Like simple, like if I'm not mistaken, I said this earlier also. How much time the animal has to be given water and why? He doesn't know this. He doesn't know this. Yesterday, I got a call from one person. I asked him, he is having big goshala in Lucknow. I said, do you know how much a cow requires water in the day? He said, sir, 20 liters. So what I can say, you tell. The basics are not understood. That fellow is there on LinkedIn. If you want, I can give you the name. You see for yourself. This is what is happening. When I said that people who are coming into this field, they have no domain knowledge and they have no, what you say, inclination to pay for that knowledge. They always say that we are new, so we should get everything free.
Okay.
That's the situation. Anyway.
Okay. So, okay, sir, I don't see any more questions from our participants. So now we have come to end of question round. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, we'd like to thank you for the detailed presentation, answering all the questions in depth. And we also like to thank all the participants for joining this meeting. The meeting will now be closed.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome, sir. Thank you.